God gave the people in Noah's day 120 years to repent. They did not. They mocked and scoffed at Noah until the flood came, as Noah was building the ark. God told Noah to preach to them, even though God knew they would not repent. Noah was told to board the ark 7 days before the flood came. He had a 7-day warning. This is not just a story about Noah, but a prophecy of the end of the world and of Christ's return. The way you know this is because in Matthew 24 the disciples asked Jesus for a sign of his coming and of the end of the world. One of the things Jesus said was, "As in the days of Noah were, so shall be the coming of the Son of Man." Just as the people in Noah's day had 120 years to repent, we have 120 Jubilees. Just as Noah had a 7-day warning, we are approaching the 7th day. A Jubilee is 50 years, so 120 times 50 equals 6,000. From Adam to Joshua entering the Promised Land was 50 Jubilees. From the Israelites entering the Promised Land with Joshua to Jesus was 30 Jubilees. From Jesus to September 30th, 2017 is 40 Jubilees, totaling 120. On an added note, you keep hearing that it is the 70th Jubilee. What this means is it's the 70th Jubilee since Israel entered the Promised Land. They entered the Promised Land at the 50th Jubilee. 50 plus 70 equals 120. These Jubilees are God's timeline of Christ's return and the end of the world. You cannot change the mathematics of God's timeline confirmed by several prophecies in the Bible. For instance, after Christ died, the people in his day were given 40 years to repent after Jesus Christ died on the cross. Those that believed in Jesus were warned to get out of Jerusalem when they saw it compassed with armies. Not one of them were hurt, but those that did not repent or believe that Jesus Christ was the Son of God were destroyed under God's wrath along with the city and the temple. That was in 70 AD. 40 years is the number God gives people to repent before he brings judgment. See the parallel? 40 years after the cross, Jerusalem was destroyed. From Jesus to Yom Kippur 2017 is 40 Jubilees. September 30th, 2017 marks 40 Jubilees since Christ went to the cross. 30 years after 1947 is 1977, the year that Israel reached its maturity. 30 years old is the year that an Israeli child reaches maturity. 1977 plus 40 years of judgment equals the year 2017. 2017 will be the 50th year anniversary of the reunification of Jerusalem in 1967 after the Six-Day War. 2017 is the 69th year since the creation of the State of Israel in 1948. It's been 70 years since 1947 when the UN General Assembly adopted the Plan Resolution 181 for the partition of Palestine into Israel. It's been 100 years since the Balfour Declaration was signed, which was the first official act to allow the Jew the right to resettle in their homeland in 1917. And last but not least, in 1897 was the first Zionist Congress held in Basel, Switzerland by Theodor Herzl, and this was the first official act to prepare the way for the Jews to return to their homeland. This was the first budding of the fig tree, the birth of Israel. That was 120 years ago. From 1897 to 2017 is 120 years. The last generation is 120 years, just like the time of Noah. Just as in the days of Noah. Think of all the biblical definitions for a generation in the Bible. 40 years, 50 years, 70 years, 100 years, and 120 years are all biblical definitions of a generation. And this year they all go back to some major event in Israel. 40, 50, 70, 100, and 120. This year they all coincide with the major event in Israel, signifying this year is it. Christ is returning this year. At the end of the 120th Jubilee, we reviewed the Shroud of Turin for evidence, and what he found was there was 120 scourge marks on Jesus Christ. Why 120? And why were there 120 disciples in the upper room on the day of Pentecost? Could it be because the church age is ending? Because if Jesus Christ is of a Jewish husband is not to go out to war for a full year after his marriage so he can enjoy his bride. Noah was in the ark for 1 full year. After the full year is up, Jesus Christ will be ushering in his millennial reign. Jesus Christ will be taking back possession of the earth because on a Jubilee year the land must return back to its original owner and to its original family, according to Leviticus 25:28. How much more during the final Jubilee would the earth be returned to its original owner, Jesus Christ? Hebrew year 5777 now. Could it be that there are only 5 more years until God completely destroys mankind, people that do not repent? Could September 2015 be the start of the last 7 years? September 28, 2015 was the final blood moon, signifying the possibility of the last 7 years. Could that mean that there are 5 more years left for humanity to repent and get saved and turn to Jesus Christ? 17. At the end of the 120th Jubilee, at the end of the 6th dispensation, at the end of 6,000 years, what other time would be more sufficient than that date?